Today is a pretty comprehensive comparison between the face scanner on the iPhone XS and the one on the Galaxy Note 9. Worth bearing in mind is that the Note 9 has a fingerprint scanner, which the XS doesn't. So of course it's a massive advantage just to have an alternative option. But in this video we are just looking at the face scanners. Okay, so even though both phones are trying to achieve the same thing, they go about it in very different ways. The Note 9's intelligent scan uses both iris and face scanners, but I do need to address a bit of a misconception. Instead of using both at the same time, the phone actually uses face scanning first, as that's the fastest option, and only if this fails, say in low light, will it then check your irises. If that fails too, then the phone will use a combination of the face and then iris scanner to try and piece together what it can. The iris scanner is slower, but it does work when it's dark. In comparison, you might know that the iPhone X, in this lovely little notch on top, has a dot projector, which fires 30,000 dots onto your face, which are then picked up by the infrared camera and sent to the chip in the phone for processing. With the iPhone XS, compared to last year's 10, the chip has been quite significantly upgraded, and so that processing time should be quicker. Okay, so let's do this. Setup is very simple on both. Although you are seeing yourself in the front-facing camera on the iPhone, this is actually the only time when using Face ID where the camera will be used. Once set up, it's all about infrared. Then we've got the Note 9, where in one go the phone scans both your face and irises. You don't even have to use a separate scan for each. So after setting them up, the first thing I wanted to look at is something that, as far as I'm aware, hasn't been covered by anyone else. Field of vision, which means from what angle can each phone detect your face. So I started with the Note 9, me sitting at the end of the table and kept trying to unlock, getting closer each time, until it worked, and then measured the angle that it worked from. Doing the same on the XS, and it managed to detect my face from quite a bit further out, and I tried multiple times with the same result. So basically this means you have to be less precise when pointing the phone at your face to unlock it. When we talk about security, this brings us back to that misconception we talked about earlier. 95% of the time when you're unlocking your phone using intelligent scan, you're really just using a face scanner, which is using the front camera to snap a 2D image of the face. And as I pointed out, as soon as the right face is detected, the phone doesn't use iris scanning. This compares to the iPhone's system, which uses the dots it fires onto your face to detect contours in 3 dimensions, and unlock accordingly. Most would say that because of this, the iPhone XS is more difficult to fool, but we're going to test it anyway. But just to give you an example of this security difference, Face ID can be used to make payments, whereas the face scanner on intelligent scan can't. For something as vital as payments, Samsung has to use the iris scanning only, or the fingerprint scanner to authenticate payments, as the face scanner is not considered secure enough. But in my own tests, what I did was pull up a clear image of myself and put it on the laptop screen, while using both phones to see if either was fooled. I had to turn off the require attention feature on the iPhone first, which is kind of like an additional security measure that makes sure your eyes are looking at your phone before unlocking. Thankfully, neither phone was fooled. They could clearly tell this was a photo and not my actual face. I tried again, this time using a selfie taken on the Note 9, as this would be the exact picture that the phone would be looking for when scanning for a face. And even then, the Note 9 wouldn't unlock when looking at a screen. So the takeaway of that is that while the Note 9 may not be as secure as the iPhone XS, it's secure enough for most people and most situations. Moving to the dark, and the front camera won't work well, so the Note 9 switches to iris scanning only. There is a slight hit to the speed because of it, but it still works fine. Having said that, the XS didn't even seem to be affected by this lighting and worked exactly as it was working in a well-lit area. Things got a little dicier when I went into a super low-light condition. I created a scene where it was more or less pitch black, and the Note 9 was more affected by it. Even though I'd set the screen brightness to minimum, it kept trying to dial it up to better light my face. But even then, success rates dropped from close to 100% unlocking to more like 30. But to be honest, the iPhone didn't seem to be affected at all. It was detecting the face and unlocking the phone pretty much as well as it does in slightly brighter conditions, as well as broad daylight. So all those times when you're lying in bed at night and you're trying to unlock your phone, the face scanner is probably not the way to go on the Note, but at the same time, you've got that fingerprint scanner, which you don't on the iPhone. Okay, what about obstructions? I know people say that this isn't what these scanners were intended for, but life isn't perfect. Sometimes you want to wear a cap, sometimes you end up wearing sunglasses. Every now and again, your beard grows out a little more than you'd like. Do these face scanners still work? Starting off with the cap, the iPhone works fine, and the Note 9 has no problem either. The unlock works and it's just as fast as before. Sunglasses, as long as you turn off that option we talked about for requiring attention, work with the iPhone, even if they are obscuring a good 20% of my face. The Samsung though didn't quite cut it. As this large portion of my face was covered, the camera couldn't face scan, and my irises are being blocked by the glasses, so iris scanning wouldn't work either. So for some people this isn't going to matter at all. If you don't wear glasses, not an issue, but if you do, definitely worth considering. And now for the biggest question, what about the speed? And there's a bit of a misconception here because the iPhone X and XS have a two-step unlocking system. Even after Face ID, you still need to swipe up to get onto the home screen. But Apple does this on purpose so you can check your notifications while on the lock screen. And it turns out, which one is faster depends on how you define unlocking. Consistently, the iPhone XS will recognize the face faster than Samsung. I'd say it wins 95% of the time. But because of that extra swipe you have to do, if all you want to do is get to the home screen, then Samsung will be faster almost every time. I feel like Apple could have quite easily solved this problem by just adding a setting that lets you go straight to the home screen when a face is detected, but they haven't. Having said that, the Face ID does result in a few other interesting features. Attention Aware Mode will constantly check to see if you are looking at the screen and accordingly dim the display or lower the volume of alerts. You've also got Alternative Appearance, which, if you're someone who drastically changes their look from time to time, can still let you use face unlocking. So that's a comparison. Let me know what you think and which phone you think does it better. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching and I'll catch you guys in the next one.